Michael Turner had always believed kindness should never depend on convenience. After finishing work one Friday evening in Portland, he stopped at a neighborhood grocery store to buy a few essentials. As he loaded his bags into his car, he noticed his elderly neighbor, Mrs. Eleanor Brooks, struggling with several heavy grocery bags near the parking lot. Without hesitation, Michael walked over with a friendly smile. "Let me help you," he offered. Mrs. Brooks looked relieved and gratefully handed him 2 heavy bags. "You're very kind," she said softly. Together, they walked the short distance toward their apartment building, chatting comfortably about the unusually warm autumn weather and colorful leaves covering nearby sidewalks. Mrs. Brooks moved slowly because arthritis made climbing stairs difficult. Michael adjusted his pace without making her feel rushed. He listened patiently while she shared funny stories about growing tomatoes on her late husband's small farm decades earlier. Her cheerful memories made the walk feel shorter than either of them expected. After reaching her apartment door, Michael carefully placed every grocery bag on the kitchen counter. Fresh vegetables, fruit, soup cans, bread, and milk filled the countertop. Mrs. Brooks thanked him warmly before quietly saying, "You don't have to rush off." Her gentle voice carried unexpected sincerity that made Michael pause immediately. Michael glanced at his watch. He had planned to spend the evening watching television alone with takeout pizza. Nothing truly important was waiting for him. Smiling politely, he accepted her invitation. "I'd love to stay for a little while," he replied. Mrs. Brooks's face brightened as though someone had switched on another light inside the apartment. She placed a kettle on the stove while Michael unpacked the remaining groceries. The apartment felt welcoming despite its simple furniture. Family photographs covered one wall, each capturing birthdays, graduations, weddings, and holidays from many different years. Every picture reflected a life filled with love, laughter, and unforgettable memories shared across generations. Mrs. Brooks noticed Michael studying the photographs. She smiled fondly before explaining who everyone was. Her 2 daughters lived in different states with busy families. They called often and visited whenever possible, but distance made ordinary afternoons much quieter than they once had been when the house overflowed with constant activity. Over hot tea and freshly baked oatmeal cookies, they talked about everything from favorite books to neighborhood traditions. Michael discovered Mrs. Brooks had once taught elementary school for over 30 years. Hundreds of children had learned to read because of her patience, encouragement, and belief that every child deserved someone who believed in them. Michael admitted he often questioned whether his own office job truly mattered. Endless emails and meetings rarely left him feeling fulfilled. Mrs. Brooks smiled thoughtfully before reminding him that meaningful lives were rarely measured by impressive titles. "People remember how you treated them," she said gently, "long after they forget what you did." Those words stayed with Michael as they continued talking. He realized helping with groceries had taken less than 15 minutes, yet it had transformed an ordinary Friday into something memorable. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness created the deepest connections, especially for people quietly carrying loneliness behind warm smiles and polite conversations. Before leaving, Michael fixed a loose cabinet handle that had been bothering Mrs. Brooks for weeks. It took only a screwdriver and 5 minutes. She laughed happily after opening and closing the cabinet several times. "You've saved me from wrestling with that thing every morning," she joked with genuine appreciation. The following weekend, Michael knocked on her door carrying homemade vegetable soup. Mrs. Brooks insisted he stay for lunch. They laughed over old family recipes, compared cooking disasters, and shared stories about holidays gone hilariously wrong. What began as neighborly assistance gradually developed into a friendship that neither of them had expected to find. As autumn turned into winter, Michael helped decorate Mrs. Brooks's apartment with festive lights and a small Christmas tree. In return, she taught him recipes his grandmother had once made, but he had forgotten over the years. Their afternoons together became a comforting tradition that both quietly looked forward to every week. One snowy afternoon, Michael noticed another elderly resident struggling with icy steps outside the building. Remembering Mrs. Brooks' kindness, he immediately grabbed a shovel and cleared the entrance before helping several neighbors safely reach their apartments. Soon others joined him, turning individual effort into a shared neighborhood project filled with cheerful conversation. Inspired by the growing sense of community, residents organized monthly potluck dinners in the apartment lounge. People who had barely exchanged greetings before now shared meals, celebrated birthdays, and supported one another through difficult times. Friendships blossomed because one simple act had reminded everyone that neighbors could become something much more meaningful. During one gathering, Mrs. Brooks quietly stood to thank everyone. She looked around the crowded room with grateful eyes before saying, "This building feels like home again." Several neighbors smiled emotionally because they understood exactly what she meant. Loneliness had slowly been replaced with laughter, conversation, and genuine care for one another. Months later, Michael received exciting news about a promotion requiring longer work hours. He worried he would no longer have enough time to visit Mrs. Brooks regularly. Before he could apologize, she gently squeezed his hand and smiled. "Kindness isn't measured by hours," she reminded him. "It's measured by intention." Even with his busier schedule, Michael continued stopping by whenever possible. Sometimes visits lasted only 10 minutes. Other days, they shared dinner or coffee together. Their friendship never depended on perfect timing. It grew because both people consistently made room for compassion despite life's endless responsibilities and unexpected challenges. One spring afternoon, Mrs. Brooks surprised Michael with a small handwritten letter. Inside, she thanked him for helping with groceries months earlier. She admitted that day had been especially lonely, and his decision to stay had restored hope she never expected to feel again after losing so many familiar routines. Michael folded the letter carefully and placed it inside his wallet. Whenever work became overwhelming or life felt rushed, he reread those heartfelt words. They reminded him that ordinary moments often carried extraordinary opportunities to change someone's day simply by choosing presence instead of hurry and compassion instead of convenience. Years later, whenever new neighbors moved into the building, Michael welcomed them warmly and offered help carrying boxes or groceries. Many accepted with grateful smiles. Every act traced back to one unforgettable afternoon when an elderly neighbor looked at him kindly and said, "You don't have to rush off." That invitation changed both their lives forever.